my friends, and welcome to Bob Anime and Games of this Season Zone. So, for today we're going to be talking about J-drama and, hey! Hear me out! We're going to be talking about the Death Note J-drama. Good, got your attention now, didn't I? Yep, almost a decade after the manga ended and the anime and film adaptations were released, they decided to release a J-drama adaptation of one of the most popular Shonen Jump series ever. Took them long enough. Honestly, I always did think that Death Note could lend itself to a serialized live-action adaptation. But then I watched a few J-dramas at my grandmother's house, and then I started to rethink my opinion a tad bit. As well as the meaning of life. I mean, seriously, some of those J-dramas out there, especially ones adapted from anime, can be really over the top in some ways. Even more so than the original material, and that's saying something. I mean, like everyone else, I was taken aback by some of the changes they made to the original source material, but I really did want to try and approach the show with a more objective standpoint. I mean, no matter what, as a huge fan of the original manga and someone who has seen 2 good adaptations of the show, I'm going to have at least a few biases here and there. But the more I analyze this adaptation, the more I realize the major problems it has. And I know what some of you out there are going to say, hey man, you should calm down a little bit. They're just making a J-drama, they're just trying to broaden the demographic for those who haven't seen Death Note yet. Well, that's still not an excuse for poorly written characters, a poorly written story, and just plot contrivances and plot holes up the wazoo. Which is why I'm just going to make this little video describing how I think broadening the demographic for this show basically ruined it, with my top 5 worst changes done to the J-drama adaptation of Death Note. Now, before we get into the actual list, a little dishonorable mention first. Yeah, I'm keeping this off the actual list because 1, I was never a huge fan of either Nier or Mello, and 2, because I don't think these choices were done as a failed attempt at broadening the demographic, and they were just plain bad decisions, but not actually part of the subject that I'm talking about right now. Still, these characters do have their fan bases, so may as well bring it up. First thing, why the heck did they get a female actress to play Nier? I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible to cast a female actress to play a young boy role, but this girl just cannot pull it off. For one thing, she does not do anything to change her voice.
心配しないで。平気だから。おやすみ、エル。
She pulls off as convincing a male character as the voice actress for Kobayashi and Ranpo Kitan.
どうかな?
And she just has too many feminine features that make it obvious that she's a teenage girl. In fact, that brings up another problem. She actually looks older than Nier, who in the manga looked like he was like 10 years old, even though he's 18 by the end of it. Eat your vegetables, kids.
You know, eat your green vegetables.
But yeah, if age wasn't a concern, then maybe they should have just hired another pre-boy like they have for a few of the other characters. Yeah, we'll get into that more in just a minute. But really, did somebody in production mistake Nier for a girl? Then again, Nier written in katakana is the same writing for Nia. But you know what? That's what I'm going to call this character from now on. Nia. It suits her. She's good enough. So then what about the casting choice for Nia's rival, Mello? Did they get another female actress? Nope! It looks like they got Slappy from the live-action Goosebumps TV show, apparently. No, but seriously, they replaced Mello with a ventriloquist dummy that Nia talks to. Alright, I really don't get this change. Was there just not enough money in the budget for another actor? Cause if that were the case, why didn't they just write Mello out of the plot altogether? Instead, you both made your show a lot harder to take seriously, and made these two look less like Nia and Mello and more like the ventriloquist and Scarface. Also, Nia's Mello voice sounds even less like a boy than her normal voice.
バカ俺たちの能力をエルに見せつける絶好のチャンスだろ
Congratulations, show! You made the two most unlikable characters even worse. Hope you're proud of yourself.
メロはさ
Okay, that aside, let's get into the actual list, shall we? Okay, so in the original manga, the first two people Light killed were a couple of random guys. A murderer he had seen on television and a jackass biker. The idea was that he was just writing their names on a whim and didn't really mean to kill them. And the guilt of killing both of them forces Light to try and justify his actions with himself, and thus begin the slippery slide down to becoming the psychotic murderer Kira. For the J-drama, they decided to expand on the first two guys and give them a closer connection to Light. Now, on paper that actually might sound like a good idea. After all, giving them a closer connection to Light would probably leave a stronger impact on him, and therefore be more dramatic, of course. However, in the process of writing up these guys, they ended up writing two of the most cliched characters for these roles. For the first guy, they made a bully character. Yep, a two-dimensional bully who looks like he only just arrived from the 80s, red leather jacket and all, and literally is hitting up Light's friend for his lunch money. Seeing this played out character archetype make an unwelcome return made me roll my eyes. I thought things could get any worse. Then the second guy happened. So, what's a cliche that's older than the two-dimensional bully? How about their mother? Yep, even though she lived in all previous incarnations, the J-drama version of Sachiko Yagami gets killed off by the second guy Light wrote in his notebook. Alright, I know that Light's murder didn't actually contribute that much to the original story, but killing her off just to give Light more reason to kill this guy just feels wrong. Yeah, it reminds me of a certain trope that I think Gail Simone once brought up. Hold on, I need to get a drink. Oh, thank you, Mrs. Yagami. By the way, it's not too cold in my refrigerator, is it? You're good? Okay. Yeah. Alright. What? But yeah, seriously, turning Light's mom into another lady in a refrigerator is not only morally wrong in my opinion, it also reeks of lazy writing. The whole idea of avenging a parent has literally been in fiction for centuries now. Anytime it's used nowadays, it feels like a crutch, as though the writer has no confidence that they can write a compelling or interesting villain, which seems to be the case here.
なんでお前とガキを交換したと思ってんだよお前こそ分かってんのか絶対殺してやるからな待ってろよ約束だ
This guy makes Disney villains look style by comparison, and they don't kill off parents anymore these days. And just remember, this was all from the first episode, and it just gave me a bad impression for what the rest of the show was going to have. Yeah, I have no idea what the heck this thing is, but certainly it's not Ryuk. I mean, my god, even if I didn't think Ryuk was one of the greatest characters to come out of the pages of a Shonen Jump, I don't think I would ever be able to tolerate this river dancing jackass who won't shut the hell up. I think they were trying to make him more of a comedy relief, but they completely overdid it. This thing is just so bombastic and annoying that it makes me wonder why Light hasn't returned a Death Note to him just to get rid of him already. Then again, he should have considered returning it after he had made it very clear to Light that he was evil. Yeah, every time Light considers giving up killing, he clearly starts to egg him on to do more and play him like a fiddle. I swear, clothes from Princess Precure was more solid than this guy. Though I actually liked clothes. This abomination of CG is a far cry from the original, who despite his appearance, really wasn't all that bad a guy when you really thought about it. Yes, Ryuk is always the one who sets up the chain of events that leads to the creation of Kira, but previous incarnations of him would often just have him lie back and watch things play out. The idea was that he was playing against the archetype that the Reaper is a malicious monster, and rather just a guy who's seeking something to relieve himself of his boredom. I just found him interesting because he was always in that sort of moral gray area. Yeah, he kills people for a living, but that's only because he literally needs to do it in order to live. But here, I think they made him more obviously evil in order to broaden the demographic. Or rather, dumb things down, like, say, overcomplicate stuff like morality and all that. Again, even if I weren't a huge Death Note fan, I would still find this thing incredibly obnoxious. And as a Death Note fan, when I see stuff like this,
みそみそってあのボインちゃんか。リュウクには関係ないだろ。
I have only this to say. If there are any Shinigami out there listening, please write my name in your notebook. Please. Oh God, please. Please. Sorry about that. Lost my cool there for a minute. While I know Death Note has always been a breeding ground for yaoi slash fics, I think they were being a tad bit too blatant with their attempts at appealing to the Fujoshi. Aside from Nia, this version of L is easily the most effeminate male character in this entire show. He pretty much goes through the entire checklist for making a social manga idealized narcissistic pretty boy. Let's see, we've got being ridiculously thin, check. Having slightly messy but still very nice hair, check. Sitting with his shoes on the table, check. Slamming his hand against the wall while backing someone into a corner, double check. And most importantly, taking off his shirt as a means to get the ladies to squeal. Check, check, check. Sorry, lost my cool there again. I mean, it's not as though L can't be played by a pretty boy. Speaking as a heterosexual male, I'll say that Kenichi Matsuyama from the film was an attractive male lead. But he didn't need to conform to the checklist and provided a great interpretation of the character in my opinion. It's obvious that this version of L's mannerisms were written in as a means of bringing in the female viewership. In a way, you could say that's broadening the demographic, but in another way, you could also say it's hack writing that panders to the fangirls as though they don't have any confidence for the rest of the show. On those issues alone, I can't approve of this version of L. But on a more personal note, I think changing up L's mannerisms made him a far less interesting character than the original. While I'm not sure if this is entirely part of the original author's intent, all previous versions of L, especially the fantastic performance by Matsuyama, exhibited some of the more common signs of high-functioning autism or Asperger's syndrome. And yeah, I can say that because, well, I have Asperger's syndrome. And L pretty much acted exactly like I did in high school, minus the sitting on my desk, because I probably would have gotten in trouble for that. But yeah, the fact that they replaced L's trademark scene position with something more conventional and conforming to what a stereotypical pretty boy would do removes what was unique about the character. For my college thesis, I actually researched Japan's view on autism and found that they had shockingly little understanding about it. So intentionally or not, having a character exhibit autism was kind of refreshing. In fact, it kind of helped me get through my high school years because it encouraged me just to be myself. Here, I think they tried to incorporate signs of autism by making Elle drink those jelly juices or whatever that come in the pouches all the time, and making him OC about wearing a clean shirt. But even those aspects feel like they were just tacked on to give more fan service for the ladies. Like, obviously, him taking off his shirt all the time is basically just there to raise his Draco quotient. While sucking on the jelly, I guess, is meant to look like, Moving on. The point is that tacked on stuff like that just feels insincere and quite frankly kind of offensive to guys like me who have to deal with overcoming their autism. Really, this might have taken the top spot if there weren't bigger and less personal gripes I have with the show.
必ず探し出してみせますよ。キラーを。
Yeah, I realize it's not the most refined way of seeing it, but that's all I can say for this. I'm guessing they rewrote certain plot points and characters in order to simplify things for more casual viewers, but did they have to turn these characters into total simpletons, especially the main characters? First of all, I love how poorly Light hides the Death Note at the beginning of the series. Dude, don't hide it as though you're hiding a dirty magazine. Then in Elle's case, I have to ask, why in God's name does he never disguise his voice when talking in public? It's one thing not to disguise his voice when talking to the police, but during the Lindell Taylor trap, he broadcast his undisguised voice to be heard by the entire Kanto region. Is he really supposed to be one of the best detectives in the world if he's blowing his cover like that? Next, we've got Mazda. Yeah, I know it's hard to believe Mazda getting any dumber, but here, this idiot divulges information about the Kira investigation to a regular civilian. Oh, but not just any civilian, to Light. And what did he tell them? He told them that Elle had come to the conclusion that Kira was a student. He told Light Yagami, the college student, this. Oh, hi there, Naito-kun. Hey, did you hear? Elle thinks that Kira might be a student, just like you. I probably shouldn't have mentioned that, but you can't be Kira at all, even though you perfectly match the description. And if you were, then I probably would have to shoot you several times in what would be my only legitimately awesome moment in the entire series, but considering how this series has been going so far, it probably is not going to happen. So how's your sex? Yes, in previous incarnations, Light managed to get information about Elle's investigation, but that was only because his father, who was part of the investigation, offhandedly mentioned it to his entire family at the dinner table, which would make sense. Even if he is a cop, he probably would let his guard down in front of his family when he's just trying to sit down and have a meal. Here, not only does it feel incredibly forced, as though it were just written in there to advance the plot, but what's stopping Matsuda from saying he leaked the information to Light after learning that he was one of Elle's suspects? By oversimplifying the characters in writing, they basically left this show open to one of the biggest gripes I have with it. For this section, I'm going to have to examine this show's equivalent of the Ray Pember story arc. So, just as a heads up, there's going to be spoilers for episodes 2 and 3 of the show. That said, this was a complete waste of one of my favorite story arcs from the early chapters of the manga, featuring a couple I really liked. Ray Pember and Naomi Misora's story arcs were great introductions to Light and his mind games, and really helped to show how delightfully ruthless he could become. However, as much as I liked them, I do have to point out a slight plot hole from the original story. Was it me, or did Ray give up his identity a little bit too easily to Light? I mean, I get that he didn't believe Light was Kira at the time, but is it bad to show a civilian, one that you're tailing, your FBI badge? In fact, shouldn't he have reported that to his superiors, saying that he blew his cover and all that? Ray was cool, but he wasn't a great agent in my opinion. So, to this show's credit, it actually filled up this little plot hole by basically having Ray Pember actually be an alias for the agent. Yeah, for fans of the source material, this was a genuine surprise, and honestly, I thought it could save the show despite all the problems I had with it previously. Too bad they completely messed it up right in the next episode and forced me to make this video. So after the agent, formerly known as Ray Pembroke, reports into L telling him that Light was at the scene of the bus jacking where the culprit ended up committing suicide, what does the brilliant detective and trained FBI agent do?
Nothing! Absolutely nothing!
I mean, yeah, I know they only have circumstantial evidence for now, but don't you think it's a little bit weird that the bus jacker suddenly decided to commit suicide? I mean, just to me, that kind of screams something like, oh, it's Kira, it's Kira, it's Kira, it's Kira, it's Kira, it's Kira. Just a thought. It's not like in the manga where Light manipulated the Death Note to make it look like an accident, which they had no excuse not to do it here because it would have been an awesome scene that we've already seen recreated in live action, and it would fix this little plot hole. But wait, the stupidity doesn't end there. Light manages to manipulate the agent by threatening to kill his fiancée, who's not Nami Misora and appears to be Caucasian in this version. Yeah, I don't think they're going to be doing a Nami story arc. Damn it. But anyway, how does he get the fiancé's name, face, and relationship to the agent? Because he kept a picture of the two of them together with her name on the back. Well, that's a bit contrived, ain't it? I mean, forget the fact that he's trailing a murderer who's been known to kill people with just a name and face. Let me just ask this. Does he always carry around photos of loved ones in his bag on all of his dangerous missions? Do you also happen to leave your phone unlocked in case, you know, people want to see your emails from the president or something? Oh, but wait! We're still not done! Using the agent's fiancé as leverage, Light enacts a plan to kill him and the other FBI agents similar to the one from the manga, except 1,000 times more contrived. In all previous incarnations of this story arc, Light tricked Ray into killing his fellow agents using torn out pages of the Death Note that had pre-written causes of death on them. Beforehand, he also wrote Ray's name in the Death Note to both kill him immediately after he had killed his fellow agents, and also help ensure that he would follow his directions because the Death Note can also force the victim to do something they normally wouldn't do. However here, since Light did know the agent's name, he also had to include an additional space and instruct the agent to write his own name in a very ominous looking red square. You can guess how this little plan went wrong. Though before that, let's go through what else is wrong with this little plan of his. 1. In order to get into direct contact with the agent, Light had to lure him into a cafe using a card with his fiance's name on it. You know, if I were the agent and I found something like that, and I just so happened to have an earpiece that let me talk directly to L, I'd probably do something like this. Hey, L, you know, I think Kira's going to try to kill my girlfriend, so I'm gonna go meet him right now. If at all possible, you think you could go check up on her, and also, if anything should happen to me, then I'm 99% sure, don't quote me on this though, I think it was like Yagami all along, so yeah, just in case, I'll leave this little card he left behind somewhere safe where you can find it, and it might be important evidence and all that, and might have his fingerprints on it. So yeah, just in case, I'll hide it. Wish me the best of luck though. Hopefully I'll live through this. Knock on wood. Yeah. Okay. Take care. Bye-bye. Yeah. 2. Light really needed to bank on the agent caring about his fiancée to the point that he would endanger his fellow agents. If he didn't care about her that much, then the agent probably would have left with the Death Note pages that had both Light's fingerprints and handwriting on them. Last, but certainly not least, knowing that Kira could kill with names, the agent was of course smart enough to realize it was a trap, meaning that he had absolutely no obligation to write his own name, especially when he knew Kira didn't know his. Why did Light honestly believe this plan was going to work? I mean, I get they were trying to make Light more relatable by turning him into more of an average guy than his previous incarnations who were OP because of their intelligence, but would even an average guy make these kinds of mistakes? So after leaving the cafe, the agent took a closer look at the Death Note pages and found the pre-written causes of death. For his death in particular, it said he was going to take the Death Note pages with him to an abandoned factory and die in the factory of a heart attack. So, after seeing something like that, of course the next logical step would be to either call L or his superiors and possibly organize an ambush. Guess what he doesn't do? Yep, he plays possum and waits for Light to arrive and hold him at gunpoint. I give up! You know, you could possibly argue that Ray Pember showing his ID to Light was done in a panic considering the situation. But this guy, Mark Dwelton, everything he does, I could only say is plain old incompetence. Oh yeah, we finally learned the guy's name after we see Misa write it down in her notebook as she was trailing Light to make sure he was safe, so... Just hit me. Misa in this episode was the one who rescued Light from his own incompetent little plan. Misa proved to be the most competent person in this episode. To all those Death Note fans out there, let that sink in for a minute. Let the rage build up. And then afterwards, you can join me in one great big damn! They took a timeless story about one boy's delusional rise to godhood and eventual fall from grace and loaded it with ancient cliches, annoying comedy relief, Stephanie Meyer performances, poorly written characters, and just so many inconsistencies and plot holes in the writing that I don't think anyone could really enjoy this. And as an adaptation that's supposed to bring in new fans, I think it really isn't going to give them the right impression, and probably is going to turn off some people, and I think that's the worst crime this show commits. If you don't believe me, just go watch the first 3 episodes on Crunchyroll. You know, maybe you'll actually find something I didn't see, and maybe you'll actually enjoy it even. But for me, personally, no. I'm done with this show. Oh, maybe I just need something to cheer me up. Well, that's a start. Anyway, farewell for now, my friends. Look forward to my next video.
触らない方がいいわ。あと名前も絶対に書いちゃダメよ。
なんかいますよね。俺見えてないけどいますよね。